Alrighty, so I've already recorded my non-spoiler review for this movie. Now let us get into some spoilery thoughts. So again, if you haven't seen Fantastic Four First Steps, go and check it out because it is definitely worth your time and it is such a fun movie. All right, now everyone has watched it, everyone has seen it. Let's talk spoilers, shall we? So, one of the things that I talked about in my non spoiler review was there was one scene in particular that I had horror flashbacks to Multiverse of Madness. And it was when, and this is towards the end, where Fantastic Four trying to stop Galactus, which we'll get into all that. But Reed is caught by Galactus, and he just grabs him by his arms and his legs, and he pulls him back like a rubber band. And you just see like the suit starting to tear. And for a second, I thought, "Oh God, his flesh is just starting to like tear. This is not good. This is not good at all." So that immediately brought back like flashbacks to what happened to the John Krasinski version of Mr. Fantastic in Multiverse of Madness. So I had to get that off my chest. The movie opens up with the Ted Gilbert show, and they talk about what the Fantastic Four have done, them going up into space, them getting powers, and then them just helping out the city. 4 years have passed, and Reed and Sue are expecting a child. And the scene that was one of the scenes that was posted online was, them being late for the dinner, and then Ben immediately finding out that yes, they are indeed pregnant. That scene just shows off like the cast's amazing chemistry with each other. Like it's so good. And I love the montage of Reed just like getting everything prepared for the kid, and just showing like, yeah, he really does, like, he does care as a father. One of the cool effects that I wanted to talk about in the non-spoiler section, but I didn't because I didn't, like, I thought it would be kind of spoilery, is when Sue is like, Reed is getting like all these tests done because, they are cosmically irradiated from their trip up in space. So he wants to make sure that the kid's okay. And Sue, like, partially makes her stomach invisible so that Reed can see the fetus that is inside of her stomach. And I was just like, that is such a cool effect. That is so good. That is such a good effect. But of course, the Silver Surfer comes down, basically says, I herald your end, I herald his beginning, I herald Galactus, and then just whoop goes up, back up into space. Johnny, after chasing after her, she says something to him in her language. And so there's Johnny's side story that we'll get back to in a little bit. But the Fantastic Four, are going to go up and try and negotiate with Galactus. And when I saw Eric Voss's review, his tweets, and then his non-spoiler review, where he said, like, this film is like a merger of Interstellar and Contact. And when they did the jump using a wormhole, I was like, yeah, that is very Interstellar. That is very Interstellar. Them just like using a wormhole to jump from like one place to the next. I thought that was really cool. And then when Shalabal Silver Surfer is chasing after them, trying to get Franklin, after talking with Galactus doesn't work. they go to a black hole, and they basically get on the edge of it to try and get Shallball sucked into that black hole. Um, and it does work. Sue uses her invisibility powers to basically divert Shallball's attention, and she gets sucked into that black hole. But Sue delivers the baby in space, and they manage to get back to Earth, and there's a press conference waiting, and everyone's like, were you able to defeat Galactus? And they're like, we couldn't. But he did make us an offer. Hand over our kid, and I will spare the planet. And obviously, Reed and Sue said no, which then turns everybody against them. Like, everybody now hates the Fantastic Four, because it's like, you could have just given up your kid and we would all be fine. Which, as Reed points out, it's like, they it's the only option that it's presented to them, and so they want to see that happen, and when it doesn't, it's when they get mad. And then, of course, this makes Sue very mad, because it's like, you've thought about this, so you've contemplated this decision before, and I'm not going to give up my kid. And so Reed is just like trying to figure out any single possible way to try and solve this, and he's got nothing. He's got absolutely nothing until he comes up with, forget the exact concept name, but it deals with like levers, where it's like you have a small lever and then you have a giant lever, and it's like, if you can put an object and I can move it with the small lever, I can scale that up and do it with the bigger lever. And so they try to find the lever, essentially. And that lever, Sue gives an absolutely amazing speech outside of the Future Foundation, where she's like, this is my kid, Franklin Richards, and it's like, I'm building something for him as well. It's like, I'm not going to give up my kid to save the world, but I'm not going to give up my world to save my kid. I'm going to try and help every single one of you guys. We're going to take this on as a family. And this is like, as I was watching this, I'm like, Vin Diesel will probably be proud of this, because every single aspect of this film is about family. And that, to me, is what the Fantastic Four is about. It's about this tight-knit family that just solves problems and, kick bad guys' butts all the time. That's, to me, what the Fantastic Four is. And they just absolutely nailed it. And that inspires Reed with his idea. They're just going to teleport the Earth away from Galactus so that he can't find them for maybe at least a couple thousand years. So they build all these teleporters, which Reed had been working on a mini version of this teleporter earlier on in the film. They place them around the world so that they can just, turn them on and then just teleport the Earth away. But they have to save power, which is why Ben has a rock beard. It's because he can't use a grinder to basically, shave off the rock growing on his face, hence why he has the beard. So they're just about getting ready to launch. They're just about ready to get the Earth teleported away when Shallball shows up and says, "No, I don't think so," and destroys every single one of the teleporters except for the one that's in New York. And Sue says she's going to come for Franklin, and Johnny immediately goes into action, and he stops Shallball by playing all of these recordings that he had been getting from Reed from out in space, and he was actually able to decode Shallball's language. And he's like, this one phrase that you said, I forget the exact translation. It was, die. It was die with your own or die with. Uh, it was die with something. I can't remember what that something is, but just basically all these messages from all these different planets, and this one place, your home planet, which was saved because you sacrificed yourself to be the herald of Galactus. And we see, Shawball's home planet, and she's, uh, spending time with her daughter, and then Galactus's ship Ta-2 shows up and basically takes Shawball, and the transformation into Silver Surfer looked really, really cool. And Johnny's like, listen, they're not going to give up the kid. Just take me instead. And Shawball's like, you're not what he wants. And she's like, just go spend time with your family because he's going to come and destroy your planet. So they realize they can't teleport the Earth. So what are they going to do? They're just going to teleport a giant. They're going to lure Galactus to the last teleporter and basically teleport him away. Without his ship, he's basically useless. And how are they going to get him there? They're going to use Franklin as bait, essentially. So, Galactus sees him, right there. And just before he gets there, the Fantastic Four attack him. Johnny shoots some fire into his eyes, temporarily blinding him, and they switch out the baby carriage with a decoy one. But Galactus was like, I don't think that kid is right there, and he uses his eyes to scan, finds Franklin in the Baxter building, and eventually gets him. And is looking like he is going to get away with it, but of course Sue, with basically using what I'm considering mom energy, basically stops Galactus in his tracks and is pushing him to the teleporting launch pad. And basically through the power of family, they are able to push Galactus to the teleporter, turn it on, and he gets sucked into the black hole. At first, he is able to get out of it eventually, but Johnny looks like he's going to go for the sacrifice play, but instead Shawball ends up performing the sacrifice, hitting Galactus in the face, sending both of them into the black hole to God knows where. And they have saved their Earth from destruction. But Sue is not good. In fact, she is very dead. And, everyone is sad and just kind of like consoling over their loss. But I knew that, Vanessa Kirby was going to be in Avengers Doomsday. So they put little baby Franklin on Sue, and of course they had mentioned that Franklin potentially has some powers about him, and so he is able to basically bring Sue back to life. We cut to 1 year later when they're back on the Ted Gilbert show, but they are called away to stop some crime from happening. And I just love the fact that all three guys struggle to put in the baby seat in the Fantastic car, and they eventually get it. And then, they take off to fight the ne'er-do-wells in their city. So that is not, of course, where the movie ends. We cut 4 years into the future. This is the mid-credits scene. We cut 4 years into the future where Sue is reading to I wouldn't say a much older Franklin, but an older Franklin, probably like maybe 4 years old. They're reading a book, and Sue's like, "Let me get you a different book." And I love the fact that Herbie pulls out a Charles Darwin book, which I found absolutely hysterical. But Sue eventually finds, one of Franklin's favorite books, but she hears a commotion in the living room, and she starts, turning invisible just so that she can sneak up on the intruder. And who do we see Franklin with? Dr. Doom. And that made me smile so much. I was hoping that we would get a first glimpse at Doctor Doom. In fact, earlier on in the film, at the Future Foundation, all of the nations are represented, except for Latveria for some reason. But it was really nice to at least get a little bit of a look at Doctor Doom. Of course, we did not see Robert Downey Jr.'s face. We basically saw the hood and the mask in his hand, which I will take that. That is good enough for me. And then the second post-credit scene was just showcasing the Fantastic Four cartoon theme, which we saw the cartoon played in like televisions in the background. And in fact, like one of the guys that told Ben, like, "Hey, say your catchphrase. It's clobbering time." And Ben's like, "That I just say that in the cartoon," but he does eventually say it in the film proper when they're fighting Galactus, which I was like, "Yeah, that's awesome." But yeah, that is basically, what happens in the movie. I really, really love the story. I love the fact that every single character had like an arc in this movie, and it was absolutely an exceptional writing. Well done by everyone who worked on the script and story for this. Absolutely amazing job. But yeah, that is my spoiler review for Fantastic Four First Steps. Again, is absolutely amazing film. It is probably going to end up in my top 10 of the year. In fact, I think it is solidly in my top 5. But yeah, it's just an absolutely fun time. If you have not seen it, well, you had to have seen it because you're watching the spoiler review. But if you want to go see it again, go see it again because it's an absolutely fun time. But yeah, that is pretty much it for me, guys. Be safe out there, and remember, your family cares about you because they will show off all sorts of superhero strength. They may not have, stretchy limbs or invisible powers, or be an actual rock, or basically turn into fire, but they do love you, and you have to love them back. Love your family. I will catch you guys next time.